We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And you're back on Liberty Nation Radio. I remain Mark Angelides, and we continue our conversation with Liberty Nation Senior Principal Analyst Tim Donner. So, Tim, there was something very interesting, I thought, in the address to Congress, where Donald Trump said that it doesn't matter, roughly words of, it doesn't matter what I do, you're not going to like it. And that ties in with what you were just saying about TDS being a very, Trump derangement syndrome being a very real and visceral thing. So I'm just going to play you a very short excerpt here, and let me know what you think.
This is my fifth such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
Well, I mean, in speaking to a divided nation and a party across the aisle that sat on its hands all night, and that usually happens in a State of the Union or quasi-State of the Union address, that the party opposite the president will not stand and cheer, but the degree of just visceral hatred that you could see in the eyes and the body language of the Democrats was something I've never seen before. And I've been watching these speeches for about 40 years, if not more. I've never seen the degree of animosity. And he's absolutely right. He could walk on water, and the Democrats would say Trump can't swim. That's literally what he's saying. He could cure every incurable disease, and they'd find something to pick at. And they just really disgrace themselves with their performance. They look small, they look petty, they look weak, they look rudderless, they look leaderless. And it's hard to imagine at this point, without any leadership identified in the party, Kamala Harris is certainly not going to lead the party. Joe Biden is off on the beach somewhere, and nobody else has emerged. They are still stuck, obviously, in the pro-DEI, LGBTQ plus mode. They're still defending the things that the voters so thoroughly rejected in the last election. And you can see it by the fact that their approval is at 36%, the Democratic Party, which is the lowest level since the 20th century, and probably lower than at any time since George McGovern was the far left candidate in 1972 running against Richard Nixon.
Fear and loathing on the campaign trail for anybody who like the inside track on that.
Yes, Hunter Thompson, great writer, and he did the same for future for campaigns after that, like in 1976 when Jimmy Carter came back. Now, you know, they could believe to themselves that a Jimmy Carter or a Bill Clinton will emerge to draw them forcefully to the center, but you don't see any kind of movement in that direction. When the Republicans were defeated, Mitt Romney lost to Barack Obama in 2012. The Republicans said, look, we need to regroup. We're going to have to hold a retreat and discuss this and discuss where the party's going to go. And while that ultimately was blown up by the emergence of Donald Trump in 2015, the point is they came to grips with reality. They knew that they had lost badly, and they tried to recalibrate their message. I don't see that with the Democrats at all. Not only
Yeah.
is the party at 36% approval, the most visible leader of the party, I guess you would say at this point, Chuck Schumer, the Senate minority leader, is at 14% approval. I mean,
Is
it
that
looks,
actually is that worse than Mitch McConnell now?
I think he may have
Yeah.
surpassed Mitch McConnell for lack
Wow.
of, of approval. But it's a dismal outlook
Mm,
for the Democratic Party. And until they come to grips with the reality of what the American people want and what a dismal failure the Biden administration turned out to be and how it brought the Democratic Party so low, they're going to continue to do things like wave their cane at the
mm.
State of the Union address. Uh, and by the way, I'll just say that Representative Al Green of Texas disgraced the name, not just of his party, but the name Al Green, one of the
Yeah,
great
the
singers of
greater
all
Al
time,
Green,
the
yes.
greater Al Green, the real Al Green.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about the leadership. So there's also Hakeem Jeffries, and I'm struck by he did a video before the event that we're discussing, and he was stood in front of the Capitol building, and it was quite a wide angle shot, and he was insisting the people are with us, everyone's with us, and it was amazing because there was not one single other
Not
person
one
around.
person with him.
It's like, how can you even do that? Are you recording this at like 5:30 in the morning or something? There's nobody about, and I've never seen the Capitol with nobody about.
Well, it just shows
Just
that the
terrible
Democrats,
optics.
he's still in denial.
Yeah.
You know, I think they would have been smarter to take the James Carville approach and, as
Mm.
he said, play possum.
Play
Just
possum.
pretend
Yeah.
none of this is going on. Let Trump do what he is going to do and then wait until Trump makes a mistake, which he's going to make. Every
Sure.
president does, makes a mistake that they can exploit. But trying to exploit the president doing the things that the overwhelming majority of
Mm.
Americans desire is one of the most ineffective political strategies I've ever seen in my lifetime. The Democratic Party right now looks almost hopeless.
Yeah. I wonder if they don't the Democratic Party don't already think that Trump has made that mistake with the recent blow up in the Oval Office against Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. But it's amazing. We talk about bad takes, Tim, and it seems to me that, and I can't quite understand it because for my sins, I assume that most people go forward with honest intentions. But we've seen since essentially Zelensky was kicked out of the White House for refusing to sign the mineral deal, which was the first step in getting an actual ceasefire, stopping people dying. And we had the entire political left, including pretty much everybody in Europe, saying that Trump's leadership is over. We need to move to Europe. And I have the words in front of me, Tim. I'd just like to read the message that Zelensky sent out on social media to you, if you don't mind. So this is Zelensky speaking now. We really do value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. We remember the moment when things changed, when President Donald Trump provided Ukraine with javelins. We are grateful for this. I'll stop quoting him just for a second, but that's precisely the words that Donald Trump used in the Oval Office. And I continue reading. Our meeting in Washington at the White House did not go the way it was supposed to go. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It's time to make things right. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it in any time and in any convenient format. We see this agreement as a step towards greater security and solid security guarantees. I truly hope it will work effectively. Now, does that sound to you that Vladimir Zelensky had the meeting in Washington, went off to Europe, realized that European leaders were all about trying to make themselves look like the leading light in the world, realized they're not actually going to do anything until peace is established, and then came back to Donald Trump?
Well, you'll notice during the State of the Union, people said, well, Democrats didn't stand up even once to cheer. Actually, they did.
Yeah.
The one thing they stood to cheer was when Trump simply noted that we'd spent hundreds of billions of dollars in Ukraine. We just sent to them sight unseen. They cheered for that. And they did not cheer for any of the touching personal stories because they considered it Trump's theatrics, whatever. Trump is above all else a master negotiator.
Yeah.
That's what the art of the deal is all about. And, you know, exhibit A in the art of the deal is that when you have leverage, you use it to the max. We've seen him do it in every single deal that he's made across the country and internationally. He will use the leverage of saying, look, we need to get something out of this, and you need to get some sort of alliance with us, which is exactly what they would get with a minerals deal. You'd have American boots on the ground, not military, but business and industrial boots on the ground to execute this minerals deal. It's in a form, a sense, it's a form of security guarantee for.
Putin doesn't want to bomb Americans.
But here's what I've failed to understand, because with the Democrats having become the party of war, and they have undoubtedly, the only thing they stood and cheered for was the Ukrainians. They have failed, and this is not just Democrats, it's also the neoconservatives in the Republican Party and publications like the National Review, who are acting as if we have to draw a hard line in Ukraine, where Putin is going to take over all of Europe eventually and cross the English Channel. He just doesn't have the capacity to do that.
Sure.
His military assets have been significantly diminished because of this grinding war of attrition. 1 million Russians have died. They have failed. The neoconservatives and the Democratic Party have failed to demonstrate what compelling national interest we have in Ukraine. They fail to make the case that Ukraine is indispensable to the national security of the United States, when in fact Ukraine has always been in the Russian war, but it used to be part of the Soviet Union. You know, frankly, in most ways, you have to say, it's not our problem. It's Europe's problem. And Trump just wants to stop the killing. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. He said that over and over and over again. And the way that the left and the neoconservatives have responded is saying he's a puppet for Putin, simply because he's not going to condemn Putin before he invites him to the negotiating table. That's another pretty foundational piece of the art of the deal, is that you don't condemn either side if you want to get them to the table to negotiate an agreement.
Indeed. We're going to continue this conversation after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.